The February 22nd card is final, and with maybe the exception, this is not to say it's a bad fight, it's not, with the exception of Israel Madrimov versus Virgil Ortiz, and I don't say with the exception that as in it's a bad fight. I'm hearing rumours that he's off the Fury Usyk card, which does weaken that card quite significantly, to be honest with you. Him against Boacek would have been a good fight. I'm hearing rumours that it's off, he's off that card. And then I'm hearing rumours now that he's still on the card. But that's a losable fight. And even if you win it, it's a tough fight. This is not a video about Madrimov versus Ortiz. That's kind of the only fight in inverted commas. We don't know. Is it going to happen? Is it not? But it's a great fight if it does happen. The whole card itself is, from top to bottom, as far as I'm concerned, brilliant. Every fight on that card is a main event. And that's the thing about these Saudi cards, is that every fight on there is a main event, for the most part anyway. And this right here, there's not one fight on that card that you could not look at and say is not a main event. It's absolutely fantastic. And we got some, did we get some, I don't want to use the word let down because it's such a good card, but we would have obviously liked to see Boots versus Ortiz. I certainly would have. We're not going to get that. But in its place, we got some extra fights. Or, on paper it looks like we have, being one of them, Joshua Buatsi versus Callum Smith. And I did wonder when Callum Smith, because it was a very just kind of out the blue, oh, he's back kind of return. And it was only with about, 10 days before fight night. And that was obviously on the Edwards UFI card the weekend. And I kind of thought, okay, it's a bit of a random comeback, to be fair. But Callum Smith, if he has a little bit left, then he's got something to offer us. So he went in there with a very obscure run-of-the-mill, a guy who's campaigned as low as 154 pounds, and he dispatched him in 5 rounds, as you would expect. No real trouble. And I was just thinking, what are they going to do? And then you started hearing a few rumours about February, maybe Buatsi, and you thought, surely not. Here we are. I think this is an excellent fight. And I think for Buatsi, the loser of this fight, it's not that their career is done. There's still plenty to go. I mean, you look at light heavyweight, it's getting better, but you look at domestic level, and a lot of the best light heavyweights, apart from Beterbiev Bivol, you can say are in the UK. Willie Hutchinson is still quite useful. He's fighting Zach Parker now in February. There's obviously Buatsi, Callum Smith. I think he still has a little bit left to offer. Not as much as he did a couple of years ago, but he still has a little bit in there. And I think this is just brilliant. I think this is a really good fight. I'd make Joshua Buatsi favourite, I would. I don't think Buatsi's ever been in with a puncher the likes of Callum Smith, because Callum Smith can really punch. He can really whack. I don't think he's ever been in with a puncher quite like Callum Smith. This will stand him in good stead for world level, it really will, if he comes through it. Because, there's no way, it's a really tough fight for Joshua Buatsi. But it just got me thinking, light heavyweight, you have the likes of Willie Hutchinson, who's fighting Zach Parker. He's been on some of these Riyadh shows. Craig Richards, although I think he's kind of maybe stagnating a bit after that Willie Hutchinson loss, but he's been on some of those Riyadh shows. Joshua Buatsi making a name for himself on these Riyadh shows, in all honesty, now fighting Callum Smith. Elephant in the room, who's missing? A certain Mr. Anthony Yarde. And I've said it once, and I will say it again. Anthony Yarde has completely derailed his whole career. This is a guy who 2 years ago fought Artur Beterbiev at the Wembley Arena, the OVO Arena, over in Wembley, in northwest London. 2 years since then, he hasn't fought a guy with a pulse. He made a comeback on literally no notice, because at the press conference for Joy Zhang 2, he didn't even have an opponent there. And he fought an opponent on, less than a day's notice. He weighed in the day before the fight, and that was it. I think he did weigh in the day before the fight, that was it. He fights an obscure opponent on the undercard of Hamza Shearer's Liam Williams in February. Goes missing, apparently splits from Frank Warren, apparently. And then returns on an undercard fight, in a fight in which he could have nearly lost against, again, not an obscure fighter in terms of he had a bit of ability there, but a fighter that nobody bloody knew. And again, in the Copper Box Arena, on a Sky show, Adam Azim's undercard. And your contemporaries are all vying, and seemingly all getting on some of these Saudi shows, with the exception of Dan Aziz. I'm sorry, what? And Buatsi The biggest light heavyweight fight, arguably in the UK, because some might say, well, no, Callum Smith's a bigger fight. It's not closer to happening. Has Yarde even had conversations with the Saudi? Tunde Ajayi trying to negotiate with Turki Al-Sheikh, how do you think that would go? It's just when I seen this card yesterday, it was like, as happy I am as it, and it's a brilliant card, you look and you just think like, what the absolute F has Anthony Yarde done? And if Anthony Yarde was a 24, 25-year-old and he'd done this much of a derail, I would have said, well, you need a good, slap up the head for absolutely missing out on multiple $1 million paydays and big paydays, worldwide exposure on these shows. You need a good slap across the head for, going down this road. But you're 25, you live and learn, and you've plenty of time. Anthony Yarde is what, 33, 34? He's in his mid-30s, well, nearly his mid-30s now. I mean, like, clock ticking. Anthony Yarde might have 2 to 3 years left of his peak. His peak might be actually starting to go now, because his athletic peak, and Anthony Yarde's a very athletic fighter, relies a lot on athleticism to an extent. It's not going to get any better now. And you just look at the decisions he's made, and you just think, like, what on earth is happening? What on earth is going on in that team? Who's advising him? And why hasn't he been sacked yet? Anthony Yarde could have captained Team Queensbury. He could have been in there with Craig Richards, making multi-millions. He could have fought Buatsi already in Wembley Stadium. If he'd beaten him, he'd be fighting Callum Smith on one of the biggest, best shows we've seen in arguably, or some people would say of all time, but certainly in the last 20 years. And what's he doing? Where is he? Adam Azim just announced the fight in the OVO arena. Oh yeah, I'm not fighting on, no disrespect to Adam Azim, I'm not fighting on any of these Riyadh shows. I'm fighting John Doe in the OVO on a Sky undercard. Yeah, that's really, you're really winning in your career there, aren't you? Meanwhile, all your contemporaries are on these Saudi shows, making millions, worldwide exposure. And they're putting themselves in a good position to challenge for some of these titles. But no. Anthony Yarde's a bigger star than all them. Oh, never mind. Anthony Yarde's a bigger star than all them. Of course he is. Yeah. Reality check. The last year, maybe more of Anthony Yarde's career has been a complete and utter mess. I mean, how in God's name? Who in God's name would advise Anthony Yarde to try and leave a contract with a promoter who has literally just hit it in with the Saudis, who, although these shows are co-promoted, and obviously this one has Golden Boy, it has Matchroom, has Queensbury, has Boxer, it's many others, he's worked with Salita, etc. Although he's working with all these promoters, the guy who turned you pro, the guy who guided your career, got you 2 world title shots, that promoter, he's the main guy. When they did that Latino night, Frank Warren didn't have one fighter on that show, as far as I'm aware anyway. He only had one fighter on that show. Queensbury was still on the canvas. You could still see the Queensbury banner on the canvas. They are the spearhead of this. And that was your promoter. Honestly, it just... make it make sense. Seriously, just make it make sense. It doesn't. So Anthony Yarde, I mean, his career is just gone. I don't even know at this point. But yeah, just thought I'd give my 2 cents on it, because when I see these cards and do you know why it's frustrating for me? Because I still see something in Anthony Yarde. There's still something, a little something there in him. And I'd give him a chance against Buatsi, I'd give him a chance against Callum Smith. But the problem is that now, you see, Anthony Yarde in his early 20s, early on in his career, he could get away, and he was fighting a lot more frequently, to be fair, but he could get away with fighting those obscure run-of-the-mill opponents. Man, I've done a video going in on Tank Davis being a 30-year-old prospect. Anthony Yarde's in his mid-30s, and he's being treated like a prospect. And the difference is that Tank Davis has won world titles. He's headlined pay-per-views. Yeah, he's not doing himself any favours, and I've done a video on that already, haven't uploaded it yet. But, you could argue that at least with Tank Davis, he should be doing better. He is, being a bit of a diva about things. But goddamn, at least he's actually won world titles. At least he's actually in a position where he can do pay-per-views and stuff like that. Anthony Yarde is fighting, as I said, on undercard fights against run-of-the-mill obscure opponents. And some opponents who we never heard of, and he's going life and debt with them. It's just bizarre. It just really is. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to make of it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And until next time, people, I will leave it there. I will try and get some more videos recorded. Probably not out today, maybe one, because I will maybe record Wednesday, tomorrow evening, and we will have our old background again for a brief time, for a couple of days. We'll see. You can give me a comparison. Do you like the London flat or the Irish home? Let me know. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, people, peace.